There is nothing natural in this landscape. It is a land which has been created by NAUSICAA's ancestors from scratch for survival. For example, the soil in the orchard was also made from scratch. In this world, which is basically covered with ceramics, all they can do is carefully search and select every single piece of true sand and soil, one by one, that has remained from this ruin. The soil is made by the ancient true sand and soil grains raked one by one, mixed with organic water such as fallen leaves and their own excrement, which then is stirred and laid down for years. This is not a fictional story. The reason why I can talk about this as if it's real is because that was what the American pioneers did. Back then, America was so spacious, but most were barren land and could not harvest any crop. The pioneers of such a land had to make the soil first, crushing stones, mixing them with calcium and fertilizer, fallen leaves, their excrement, and thoroughly cultivating every day. And after several years, they could finally get a land where corn could be harvested. Unlike in Japan, where some lands are, naturally fertile, while some aren't. In America, every farmland is something like farmers had to create. That's why they insisted on their land so much to the extent that they could immediately pull out a rifle and dispute with their neighbors. Of course, for example, in California, there were some places where you could grow corn just by spreading the grains without doing anything. But in the windy Midwest, so-called dusty bowl phenomena often took place, so the soil on the surface was constantly blown away. Then the land returned to the state of a barren land with no topsoil, and they had to make soil again. The Midwestern Americans fled to California in despair when all the soil was blown out of their lands. And this actual event inspired a novel and a movie called The Grapes of Wrath in the early 20th century. As such events happened even in the early 20th century, soil was really something they had to make. Knowing that, you can understand how extraordinary this landscape is. The windmills may look just elegant, but if even one of them stops, the water supply to the reservoir also stops. Then the orchard trees will die. It just looks like beautiful nature, but this land is like a jewel, all of which was created by dozens of generations working until they died. Okay, wow, it's past 9 o'clock. So let me finish around here for the free broadcast.